Welcome to our Halfling, where we talk about Lord of the Rings and a little bit about D&D, so let's get to it. So today we're going to be talking about Beorn, and you might be asking yourself, why should I listen to you talk about Beorn when there's so many other way cooler videos that have cool pictures and music that probably talk about Beorn a lot better than you? And I'll tell you why. Because here we get honey cakes. So today we're going to be making the Beornings honey cakes. So let's get started. Okay, so we need a cup of all-purpose flour. All right, we need a teaspoon of baking powder. And we need a 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda. So I don't have baking soda. So instead, we're going to substitute baking powder for the baking soda, and you just use 3 times the amount needed. So this one, it needs a 1/4 of a teaspoon of baking soda. So we're going to put 3/4 of baking powder. And then next, you need a 1/2 cup plus 2 tablespoons of unsalted butter melted. So 10 tablespoons of melted butter, which I already have. Oh, I did this wrong. Oh no. Okay, so you're supposed to take the melted butter, sugar, eggs, and then your mashed bananas and mix them separately. I was dumb, and I put the butter with the flour, but that's okay. It's all gonna get mixed up together, right? So let's go ahead and take our 2 eggs and beat the sarin out of them. This is why we read the instructions carefully. That's okay though. Our 1/3 cup of brown sugar. Okay. And our ripe bananas. Okay, so if you don't have ripe bananas, whatever, you can take 2 bananas and put them in the freezer, let them sit for a day, and then when you open it, they'll be nice and ripe. I forgot to pull these out, so let's see if they're defrosted enough for us to peel. But they should be super soft, and honestly, the more ripe, the better. Until they get black, don't do that. Oh, it's cold. Cold, cold, cold. I hate cold hands. So now we have our mixed and mashed bananas. Now we can mix them all together. Okay. And you're gonna want to go ahead and preheat your oven to 325. And this isn't part of the recipe. This was just something that I personally like. I'm gonna add myself some cinnamon and nutmeg. Okay, so I'm gonna do a teaspoon of cinnamon and then probably 1/2 teaspoon of the nutmeg. Bloop. Alright, so let's mix this all together. Okay, now that that's all mixed together, we're going to take our greased muffin pan, and just start scooping them over. Now that we have our muffin pan all filled, we're going to put it in the oven at 325 for about 20 to 25 minutes. So we'll come back when it's done. So while those are baking, let's go ahead and talk about Beorn. So Beorn is seen in The Hobbit shortly after the dwarves encounter the goblins. Bilbo encounters Gollum, and out of the frying pan into the fire, they get attacked by the wargs, and here we have the eagles pick them up and carry them away, have their little meeting on what to do, and the eagles now carry them off to the Karak. And here we get to one of my favorite scenes in The Hobbit, where Gandalf is telling all of the dwarves, like, we're about to go meet somebody. He does not like dwarves. He doesn't like visitors. So let me see what I can do here. You guys cannot come all at once. We need to do this in parts. And so Gandalf's kind of explaining, exactly what they need to do here. And so he takes Bilbo, and here we meet Beorn, this tall man who has black hair. He's just this large guy and very grim. And Gandalf begins to tell him, their story, what's going on, and slowly he gets Beorn into the story so that more and more dwarves can come. And I just love that scene, and I hate that it gets left out of so much film adaptations, but yeah, I love this scene. So Beorn is this massive guy. He is a skin changer. He can take the form of bears. It says that he can speak the language of men and speak the language of bears. So it's really unknown how he's able to do this. It's just something that he can do. He is the chieftain of other Beornings, other skin changers, and we know that they have a regular lifespan as other men, but they're just able to take the form of bears as well. And Beorn and the Beornings live near the river Anduin, between Mirkwood and the Misty Mountains. And here, Beorn and the Beornings lived during the Third Age, with Beorn guarding the ford of Karak from goblins and wargs. And it's funny because Bilbo is like asking Gandalf, like, why is it called the Karak? And Gandalf's like, well, I don't know. That's just what Beorn named it. That's why it's called that. So Beorn is this huge person, a large man with great strength. He's a very intimidating person to see. But Beorn has very much a heart for animals. And when the dwarves and Bilbo and Gandalf are in his home, they see that the animals there are treated with such kindness, and they're so intelligent. It says, the dogs are walking around on their hind legs, serving the dwarves. They're all of great intelligence. But something that Gandalf mentions to Bilbo is that, here, the flowers are just gorgeous. The honey here is so sweet. It's, phenomenal, because Beorn takes such good care of the bees, which I think is really sweet. Beorn, after going through this whole tale and getting really, into Gandalf's story, allows for these dwarves to, reside in his home for a time. And he even, gives them some of his horses so that they can take to the Mirkwood Forest, but that they're to return the horses. And in the background, Bilbo kind of sees Beorn following behind them as they begin to go to Mirkwood. So Beorn finds out later about the Battle of the Five Armies, and so he goes to take part in the battle to fight against the goblins and wargs. And here we see that it almost seems like Beorn's strength, he might be a little bit of a Hulk, because it kind of sounds like he gets bigger and bigger during this battle, and he does a massive amount of damage. He was a big help in fighting against the goblins and wargs. And we find out about, once the war is done, once the battle is done, Thorin now passes away, and Beorn travels with Gandalf and Bilbo back to his home as they continue to travel back to the Shire. So yeah, that's kind of just a really quick rundown of Beorn, and yeah, so I hope you like it, and let's get back to those honey cakes. Alright, so there you have it. We've got Beorn honey cakes, and we talked just briefly about Beorn, but I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I certainly did. And I hope you guys have a wonderful week, and may your homes be filled with food and cheer. Bye!